Welcome back to the big question. Tonight we're asking, is the Form 1 selection process fair? Text us on 22422 on Twitter using the hashtag the big question. Before I introduce my guest, let's take a look at your feedback on Twitter. We have Charles JB1 saying, my son has been called to join Ruaraka High School with 372 marks. The selection was a farce. At J Ishot, I think the way the Form 1 selection process was done is a good move to bring uniformity in standards of education across various school levels. At Nzioka 86, the criteria used to select Form 1s was unfair. It will demoralize the hardworking pupils. And at engineer or ENG underscore Mike Kelvin, the Form 1 selection process was not fair. All candidates should be selected based on merit, not where one went to school. I'll read more of your feedback on Twitter and on 22422. Let me introduce my panelists here. Janet Muthoni, Elimio to Coalition National Coordinator. She's on my far left. Immediate right here is Robert Masese, Director of Secondary and Tertiary Education, Ministry of Education. And on my immediate left is Ernest Wangai, who's the Chair, Kenya Private Schools Association. And I'll start with him because I know the organization has really been up in arms. Has it been fair?
No, it wasn't fair. It was extremely unfair because children in private schools were discriminated against thoroughly. It is the worst we have ever gone through.
Do you think it was fair, Janet?
For me, I would even begin by saying that nobody understands the criteria. Last year we understood the criteria, but this year the ministry changed the criteria.
Right.
Didn't bother, for example, to just tell the masses that this is where we are coming from and this is where we are going, and therefore it is unfair because it ambushes people, and psychologically even learners and parents are not prepared at all. Right. Yeah.
Robert Masese is from the Ministry of Education, and like she's saying, and many have been saying on Twitter and on 22422, very briefly because of time, just give us just tell us what criteria was used. What was happening? How was the process being done?
No, there isn't very much a shift, Hussein, from the previous elections. Over time, we have gotten ourselves involved in discussions with the stakeholders. The Private Schools Association had asked for a meeting with the Minister of Education, and they had suggestions to make on how they felt the selection should be done.
Right.
One of the proposals they had was that we should increase the number of children that we admit from districts, from the 2 boys and top 2 girls to top 5 boys and top 5 girls, automatically to schools of choice, national schools of choice.
In every district?
In every district.
Okay.
In response to their proposal, we actually moved ahead and raised the number from the 2 that we used to pick from every district, 2 boys, 2 girls, to 3 boys, 3 girls this year.
So this year you're saying 3 boys, 3 girls in every district?
The top 3 boys, 3 girls in every district
has gone to a national
school of choice where possible, because you'll find that the choice of schools clusters around certain preferred schools. Like if you listen to my talk during the release of Form 1 selection this year, we had one of the most competitive schools attracting an application total of 156,000 candidates who wanted to join Alliance Girls High School, and 154,000 of them wanting to join Alliance Boys High School, and I could go on and on. So we availed the opportunities to the children, and we were in consultation with the stakeholders, the Private School Association, and then we went ahead and used merit, choice, equity, and affirmative action, as we have done in the past, to place the kids.
Okay.
I'm surprised.
You can look at me when you're talking.
Yes, okay. I'm surprised actually that it will be said that we had a meeting.
There was no meeting?
We wrote many letters asking for a meeting. We gave proposals. The first meeting didn't go anywhere. The second meeting, we had about 20 people from the Directorate of Tertiary and Secondary Education who did not come to let us say what we had. They actually came to tell us what the criteria would be. That meeting was a fiasco. We got nowhere. Yes.
Were you part of this so-called meeting, or did you know about it?
No, we were not. And then again, there is a risk of making this a discussion between ministry and private schools,
yes.
whereas for real, even learners that went to even public schools and
yes.
had fairly good marks
Yes.
have also been locked out of national schools. So it's not only a matter of private schools, but
Yeah.
also a matter of just learners who went to public schools and have not gotten to the schools that probably they would have wanted to get into.
Right, and that is why we had to bring him here to also give us the issue
Yeah.
about private schools, yeah?
Yes, I'm discussing this issue with a heavy heart because we are talking about children of this country. Whether they're in private or public are children of this country. And whatever system you use to select them
Okay.
should be public.
Okay.
And then the other issue is this. Because it has been so secretive, there is no public audit of what has been done.
And that is
As Janet said, we should have been told this is the system, this is clear. The other problem is this. Because the ministry did away with ranking, we didn't get as many statistics as we used to get from the Kenya Examination Council.
right. In terms
Therefore,
of how much marks pupils have scored and
Yes.
everything. Okay, let us come to that in a short while. I want him to answer to this. They're saying there was no such meeting, stakeholders meeting called, and what they're also saying, and many people have been also been talking about, is the lack of transparency. No one really knows what happened.
Yeah, if you listen to the chairman, somebody I have a lot of respect for, he has said there were 2 meetings, which were not meetings. There were show-offs and fiascos and so forth. That evidently tells you that the meetings were actually there. They may not have been conclusive. People may not have hit understandings, but the meetings were held. Only that maybe the kind of outcome desired by whatever group was not achieved. But I want to confirm to you that one of the proposals is what I've just mentioned here. The proposal that we increase the number of children who automatically get admitted to national schools of choice from districts as a way of rewarding merit.
How transparent has this process been?
Well,
Everybody has been talking about that.
Yes, all right. I mean, I think it is been transparent because the guidelines that guide the selection process are not under lock and key. They are written to principals of schools, to county directors, and it should therefore be available, and the Private Schools Association has been getting copies of the same in the past.
I think that is entirely the problem,
Yes.
because the assumption here is that the only stakeholders are
Are
principals of schools. Can you imagine how parents and the learners are left out totally from the process? And I think it's always good to remind government that the biggest stakeholders are parents, because they're actually the funders of the very education, and the only mandate they have is to manage the education for us. So if they take such decisions that concern us, that they concern the learners, and they do not care to actually inform the learners who will pay for that school fees and meet so many other expenses. In fact, parents and households meet 61% of the budgets in schools. So it's surely not fair to just say that by releasing a circular to the principals and heads, then the process is consultative.
Were the parents involved? Do you think parents were involved extensively in this? I mean, you're saying you're coming up with this criteria, and all stakeholders had to be informed.
No,
Were parents taken on board?
we haven't had a major deviation from the past elections. These guidelines have been there, and it's just an issue of updating them. And the fact that we circulated these guidelines to the Private Schools Association, and I know they have received those copies in the past. It does indicating that those things were not limited in circulation to
Okay, let me
me
pose the question we are posing then to you. Do you think the process has been fair?
As per the guidelines, yes, we have done the best we could in terms
But as
of
per what is happening on the ground, and I'll read a few SMSs for you. For instance, Miss Mohammed in Nairobi says the Form 1 selection was not fair. My son scored 415 marks and was selected to Mwani Secondary School. That was never his choice. This may kill my child's dream after working so hard. It's simply demoralizing. And then Peter Sawe Biama in Terik, Nandi County. Form 1 selection this year was the most unfair since independence, as mediocrity was glorified and rewarded while merit was trashed. Jubilee administration must put its act together. And so many you've had, so many are saying they got this number of marks but didn't get their schools of choice. Yet you're saying this process was fair.
Yes, I mean, what I'm saying is this, Hussein. There were 800,000 candidates that did the exam last year, and like I've already indicated, there are certain preferred choices amongst the
Right.
students. And it's not always possible that the children can always get the schools they will want to get. Further,
Okay.
when you look at the equity requirement of the Constitution of Kenya, you are not just going to list down the students, rank them from the one with the highest marks and forget about those at the bottom.
Okay.
You are going to see how do you share the national cake of Alliance High School, Alliance Girls, Starehe Boys, so that every child in this country has opportunity to get it. So that even when you have scored low marks and you're from a certain region, which is disadvantaged in terms of facilities and access and all that kind of thing, you also have an opportunity to participate.
Okay.
But if we just rank and award on the basis of marks, we shall be missing the
She
point.
doesn't agree.
Yeah, I entirely do not agree definitely
Yeah,
with what he's
yeah.
saying, because we believe that surely merit cannot be thrown to the dogs. I think that's how it's supposed to be. Merit at least has some space. And two, it is the ministry itself that has orchestrated all this competition crazy for Alliance. Had they developed every other institution to at least match that level of Alliance, nobody could be, you know, there is no such craze that could be experienced at the moment.
Okay.
So I think what we are saying is that the ministry clearly and urgently needs to put their act together.
Okay.
We do not want a repeat of this next year, and I think it's grossly unfair to just casually tell those learners that got 400 and they have been sent to some school, not of their choice. I think you have a message for them, surely.
Yeah, what I'm saying.
Okay, we're coming to that. We're coming back with your message, and of course, a lot more here to be discussed. Keep sending us your comments on 22422 and on Twitter using the hashtag The Big Question. We're taking a short break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to The Big Question. We're asking tonight, is the Form 1 selection process fair? We have here Otieno from Nairobi saying, if only 0.6, I bet he means 6,000 candidates obtained 401 marks and above, translating to about 5,000 only, of 6,000 there. How come that 400s, the people who got 400 still got admitted to day schools? Who are these admitted to national schools? This is total disregard of intellectualism and local investments. I think the question here that people are asking is, first of all, the numbers we have is about 20,291 places for national schools. Is that the correct number?
That's correct.
Now, out of this, how many got, out of the candidates that sat for the KCP exams, how many got 400 marks and above? Is it about 6,000?
The 5,000 plus you're talking about?
5,000.
Yeah.
So if it's 20,000 places in national schools,
Yes.
and about 5,000 you say got 400 marks and above, why not give, I mean, why are we having a problem with people having 400 marks and still not getting these national schools? We have about 15,000 other places not given, isn't it?
I think the point that we don't seem to be getting is that the demand for national schools is not spread across all the national schools that we have talked about. There are about 94 national schools that took candidates this year, and they are going to 103 next year. And you'll find that there are demands that are concentrated about a given school, like the Alliance I've talked about, the Starehe and others.
Right.
And you'll find that even if you had the 5,000, that you're just going to talk about spreading them over a small number of the national schools that there are. And we're endeavoring to ensure that we have national schools countrywide. So the level of acceptability of the national schools that we have developed is one of the questions that really hampers our capacity to be able to give enough places to all the children.
The issue of equitable distribution of Form 1 places in national schools started long time ago.
Okay.
And it was based on districts. So each district was given a quota in a given school. Then in 2011, 2010, thereabout, the ministry decided that apparently the best performing are private schools. Therefore, they decided to put on a quota system of private versus public.
Yes.
As though all private schools are high quality.
Yeah.
There are private schools in Kibera. Those are not the best of schools in this country. There are boarding public schools, primary schools, which have taken the lion's share of what has been given. Why aren't they being discriminated against?
Okay, and I'll come to your demands that you're asking actually for 50-50 share.
No, not necessarily. We have no problem with the equitable distribution of places, but do it fairly.
Okay. Before we go on, I need to get this confirmation from all of you here. He's talking about a quota system and trying to get people to agree to this new national schools that have been developed. Yes. Do you believe that any child, regardless, and excuse my ignorance here in terms of the criteria you use, regardless of, I mean, if you get any child who gets 400 marks and above, should not get a national school, regardless of whatever criteria that is being used?
Yeah, and I think that is the point he has not explained well, because the question you had asked is how do we have a candidate getting 400 marks, yet they are admitted to a day school, which is not even extra county school, it's not even a county school, it's something different. If he was saying that somebody with 400 has been admitted to the so-called unpopular national schools, then that is different. But what he should tell us is how 400 marks is admitted to a day school. I think that did not come out well.
Well, that is
you agree, of course. There's some pupils who got over 400 but are not even been taken to any national school. You agree to that?
I agree with that. And what I'm saying is this. The placement of children in schools is on the basis of choice. You are not going to pick a child and fix them in Shimolatewa, which is a national school, if you didn't want to go there. And I'm saying that the choice of schools by the children are clustered about certain perceived popular schools, so that they are not spread all over. But if we were given the okay, if that's what people are saying, that we can sit as Jogo and fix a child in a national school, we can very well do it.
Also, the day school they have been fixed, they never chose it. So if you cannot fix them in a national school they did not choose, I'm not even sure you can fix them in a day school that they never chose.
And I'm coming to that again in a short while. We're taking a call right now, live. We have Florence from Nairobi. Talk to us, please.
Hello.
Hi, Florence.
Okay, my question was, my friend's daughter scored 427 points.
Yeah. Go on, Florence.
Yes, and she was not admitted to the school of her choice. So I'm wondering what criteria was being used, because if it is a matter of merit, this girl really worked hard, and she didn't get a school of her choice. So I'm just wondering what was the criteria that was used to select the Form 1.
Okay, thank you, Florence, and the best of luck. Tell us, again, we're coming back to that. What criteria? This is somebody who got 427 points. You're saying they may not necessarily, have gone for a specific school, isn't it? Schools of their choice.
Yes.
Are you saying that of all these people that are complaining and are saying, I've not been taken to the school of my choice, some may be lying? Or
I think what ought to be understood is that the placement of children in schools, like Mr. Wangai indicated, is on the basis of quotas. Alliance High School may be picking 2 children from Westlands district in Nairobi. Alliance High School may be picking 1 child from Dadaab district in Garissa. So if Alliance Boys is the desired school by the child that the caller is talking about, if that is not the best child there is in that district, then you can see that the quota would have already been taken by better performing candidates. And somebody will be coming here to complain that the child was not given their choice. Second, the choice of schools that children make sometimes is not very well informed. You'll find a child has chosen maybe a Nairobi school, has chosen Moi Forces Academy, has chosen Starehe, has chosen Utumishi. What is the problem with that? The only school there that a child has a high chance of joining is that Nairobi school. Why not the others? Starehe schools do pre-select. They select the candidates ahead of time. So the Forces schools only give the public a percentage, 20% of the spaces in their schools. So it's not a school that you can be sure that you are actually going to get. So the choice of schools by the candidates is one of the factors that affects.
And I want to help Pachor and answer the question. The problem with the 5,000 with over 400 and so forth, the reason why they are not given priority is because most of them are from private schools. And the ministry does not seem to have a heart for private schools.
Is that the case?
I wouldn't want to agree. The reason I'm saying this is if you did an analysis of the top three girls and top 3 boys that we have admitted to schools, to national schools today, 1,082 of them are from private schools. 800 of them are from public schools. And the population of private to public is 15% to 85%. But you can see a good chunk of the students in the private schools are in the top 3.
I think it's also fair for us now to not only maybe concentrate on this, because clearly we've been in this, and I can assure you, even next year we will be here, because the Ministry of Education does not get lessons.
Right.
Yeah, and so looking at why would, for example, the ministry continue investing in these already developed schools? Aren't they the people who are catalyzing even parents to crave more and more, to belong to Alliance and everywhere else, whereas the schools they are forcing our children to go to, they don't even have the basic facilities. So I think, what effort really does the ministry have in telling us that we should, all of us, we should be proud to belong to everywhere else?
School,
what are they leading? Are they leading by motivating parents to take their children there?
Janet, you very well understand, and you know it, that government, through session of paper number 1 of 205, has purposed to develop 2 national schools in every county in this country, and that money has already been sent out to schools. Schools are receiving 25 million shillings as a first phase of expansion and improvement of infrastructure. And that is not the end of the story. We are slowly getting there. It cannot be a one-bank thing. It is going to be progressively, and we shall get there.
Yeah, and I think also, because I think the biggest criticism has been ministry managing by emotions and not really by well-informed, because even the concept of national schools, really, because if you go by what the Constitution tells us, is that every child should get quality education. So really, if the concept of national schools, I was hoping that he could have dropped it, long time ago, because can we develop the schools, so that everybody else, uniformly, because there is no child who should go to a national school or a more privileged school than the other, clearly. Okay,
you'll answer that. Let me involve Bunanga here.
You see, I support national schools.
Right.
Because they create national integration. When you have kids from everywhere to one school, then they get to understand that Kenya is bigger than their village. That is number 1. Number 2, the ministry have made a very serious mistake this year when they banned ranking. Because that ranking is what was going to bring up those new national schools to the limelight. Without ranking, we would not have known, or is it called Miranda? Or Miranda in Siaya? We would not have known. We can develop many more of those schools which will have the same attraction to Kenyans. So the minister needs to look at ranking again, even if it has to be changed and modified, because we need to give publicity to these good performing schools so that our children can then choose them.
Okay. Yeah, and I also think the concept, the issue of partnership here, because really hammering the private schools so much, I think it's not in the long term.
Right.
Not help so much.
I'd like to know from him. I'll come back to you. Tell us about how much maybe you'd be comfortable with in terms of private school and the slots they're getting. Is there any recourse then for these pupils who got a lot of marks, 400, 420, 400, and we've had 427, some 430. What is there any recourse? What is their fate now? What will happen? That's it for them? They're not?
What we've done is we have admitted the children to schools. They may not be national, but they are competitive schools. Precious Blood Riruta, Nairobi, is not a national school, but it's the top school in this country. Njiri's High School in Muranga is not a national school. It's a top performing school. Precious Blood Kilungu is not a national school. It's a performing school. So the idea that the child has not been taken to a national school does not mean that this kid is destined for nowhere. And again, to stress on the point of national schools. National schools are not a decoration for this country. It is a necessity for this country. We had major serious challenges in 2007 post-election violence, to the extent that we were balkanized to cocoons of communities, each on their own enclaves. And the coming up with the new national schools everywhere allows integration, like Mr. Wangai did mention. It allows us to integrate children from different ethnic backgrounds, children from different economic backgrounds, children from different religious backgrounds, so that we bring a small Kenya in that school we're calling a national school. There are no decorations for this country.
Yeah, but I think that one is a debatable concept, because even the most tribal known people here are those people who attended all those national schools and so forth. So that's a debate.
That's a debate for
but I think what we are saying here is that we are not going to educate anyone at the expense of the other. I think that is the concept. Every child deserves an opportunity like any other student, and that is why we are saying, those of us who are not believers in national school, extra county school, we believe in an opportunity for learning for every learner.
Okay,
let me just give you a very hot one here. In 2014, when we did not apply affirmative action to cater for some of these groups of children. Precious Blood Root are the best school in Kenya for girls. Admitted 139 candidates, 139 Form 1s. 136 of them came from private primary schools. 3 of them came from public primary schools. Injiris, which I mentioned, out of the 319 students that admitted, 303 of them were from private primary schools, and only 16 came from public.
Yeah.
And what are we saying? Who is it that is able to pay something slightly more for their child in a school? It is somebody who has capacity. What about the masses who are not able to talk and air their views about the plight of their kids?
Okay, he wants to respond to that, yeah.
Why is it that children from private schools had to go to Precious Blood Rota? It's because they were denied places in national schools. And they were left out and thrown out to the extra county schools. The ministry needs to look at the whole of this thing in its entirety and involve stakeholders. This is our country, they are our children.
873,000 about the number of candidates set for last year's KCP.
Yes. Yeah.
756,000, about 85.1% public schools. Private schools about 14.9%, 131,000. What percentage would you be comfortable
now,
with?
2011, 2012, candidature from private schools was over 18%. How come it has come down to 14? It is because of the action of the ministry. They are ruining private schools.
Are you discriminating?
What is happening is this.
Yeah.
Kids are learning in private schools and then registering in public schools for the exam.
Isn't that corruption? I mean, that is wrong, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's fair. I think it's fair to say that the ministry it is fair also, because if you look at the infrastructural, situations of learners at public schools, you would see the extra effort maybe that they put in place.
Yes,
and so affirmative action is welcome.
Yes.
But I think looking at it in the broader, concept, it is not. It is the kind of treatment and the relations that do exist, because the ministry has to acknowledge that these are partners. Indeed, the ministry cannot take up this population and offer education to everybody. So these are valuable partners, and I think this is why we are not seeing investments at secondary school, for example, because had they been encouraged to invest more at secondary school, then all this would not have taken place clearly.
Okay. Yeah. Another question here for Bwana Masese. What do you tell then, Casey, I'm sorry to say this, I mean, it may sound very cynic, but what would you tell KCP pupils, people studying for KCP candidates for this year, in terms of when they select schools? Do they really need to work hard and get these marks, 430, and then end up in some funny school that, sorry to say that, a school that they didn't want?
Why not?
In the first place, yeah.
Children must be encouraged to work hard in school. And the sooner we stopped pumping wrong information about government and how it looks at children in private schools, the better for us.
Yeah.
It is proportionate allotment of slots between children who attend public schools and those who attend private schools. It's not that we have snatched anything from anybody. We have given them what is their fair share of their population, and we have left the other share to the others. Because if we are just going to base selection to quality schools or top schools on the basis of merit alone, oblivious of what the circumstances under which these kids learn, then we are missing the point.
For anybody who has run a school, if you use structural authority to manage a school, you have a strike. When you tell students, do this or I do this, you have a problem. If you explain to them why you are doing what you are doing, they are able to come with you. Can't the ministry continue and explain things to us and let us sit and argue, not call us for a meeting and then use structural authority? I'm here, I'm seated here, I'm in the ministry, you guys take this.
I think the same message
we
is
need
also
to get
coming from parents.
To each one of us.
Yeah, the same message is also coming from parents, because I think what the ministry is now saying, we have posted you to these schools. If you have other chances, please take them up. But these are the options that you have. But it didn't start from even why can't the ministry, for example, pay up a page or something in the advertisement like they do, and explain to parents that this is what we are going to be doing even ahead of time? Because what the government is taking lightly is the attachment that these learners have, the effort they've put in place, and even their own hopes and their aspirations. I think that is wrong to take those learners for granted like that.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to say that the government is taking learners for granted.
But don't you owe it to explain?
To the
don't you owe it to explain to the public? Yeah, like they're saying.
Yeah, we are in engagement although it's coming out like we
Not after the process is complete.
That is
no,
after
no,
the
no, no. When were we engaged in the discussion on Form 1 selection? It was last year. It was around mid last
But
year.
Masese, would you say you're completely confident with the process that has been undertaken so far? Are you completely confident that it was the right process, or is there a need to change, just like they are saying? It's time to sit and talk and find another way of doing it.
All right. I mean, we are not static in our thoughts. The Ministry of Education welcomes inputs from stakeholders. And even as we sit here today, I'm getting ideas and everything else, and it will inform further improvement, because this is a continuous process. It is not that we shall remain where we were last year. I've already indicated we have already improved on the numbers that we are taking from districts, and any other good ideas that come in will always be plowed in and used for the benefit of the children.
And to demonstrate what we are saying, everybody knows that there have been consultations about school fees. But up to now, no parent knows the amount of money they are going to pay. So what is going to happen? They are going to find themselves in the schools. They are given a fee structure, and they either have to pay or leave the institution. That's the operation that government is fronting.
I don't know about fees. I have a problem with the attitude of the ministry. And the ministry must open up. You see, when you go for the release of results, then in that place you sit and you tell people, we have banned ranking. And you have talked to nobody. You have explained to nobody. And then you give 11 reasons why you are banning it, and yet all those reasons are actually a failure by the ministry to implement laws and regulations to stop certain malpractices. Now, when you do that, no, I haven't, you know, when you do that, you are killing a whole education system. You are killing a generation. These are serious issues, and as a country, we need to address them with an open mind and without anybody feeling that I'm the boss.
Okay. Hussein, a quick rejoinder to
as we wind up now.
Yes. The ranking, the banning, or the abolition of ranking is not a new thing. In 1999, the ticket, Dr. Koech task force recommended abolition of ranking of schools on the basis of national examination results. That's a task force appointed by the government of Kenya. It is there as a recommendation. In 2001, one task force chaired by a member of a serious member of society in this country on student discipline, Naomi Wangai, recommended abolition of ranking on the basis of examinations.
Okay.
In 2008, the Parliamentary Committee of Education chaired by Honorable David Koech went around the country, and what were the stakeholders saying? We don't want ranking of schools on the basis of national examination results. And it was taken to Parliament, and the report adopted, and is there in the Hansard for the world to know. Okay. So it's not that the cabinet secretary woke up one morning. One more source that is the source of this. The Professor Jambo report on the alignment of education to the new constitution is clear, and the recommendations are there, and documents are available. Now that recommends that ranking of schools must be banned.
What it should have been done should have been looked at. Then say what are the problems. Okay. How can we modify it to be better?
Right. A lot more, of course, needs to be discussed in this topic. It is really, really wide. But final question here, and somebody in Muranga says, my daughter scored 404 marks and was selected to join an extra county school she did not choose. Her choice of national schools from the second were newly established ones. That is, she had one national school, the known ones. If she doesn't get that one, she gets a newly established ones, a second choice. Could she not qualify in any of this? And this is a question I'm asking here, because we've seen the Parliamentary Committee on Education now saying they're also looking into this matter. Can you be confident enough and say there were no discrepancies in this process? Because these people who are complaining, there are so many people complaining, and they're not saying that it's not about national schools only. They've not been taken to these newly developed national schools. They've not even been taken to county schools. People with 400 marks are being taken to sub-county schools.
There could be anomalies. There could be minor anomalies in the whole process, like in any other process.
And the question they need to know then is how is that going to be sorted out?
We have
I mean, is that it for them?
We have inbuilt mechanisms of addressing challenges that come with processes such as this.
What should they do? Because you're on national TV, it's important maybe they hear from you because there are so many problems.
If there are
what should they do?
If there are candidates who are not happy with the schools they've been selected to, they can place their requests with the preferred schools. And the principals of such schools have already been notified, and they know that on 16th we shall be doing replacement of places of children who would have wanted to change schools, because we were aware on the basis of merit, the marks, and even consideration of the regions where they come from. What we are saying is, if there is a boy that was admitted to Alliance High School from Turkana, and that boy fails to come, we are encouraging the principal to Alliance High School to, as much as possible, look at the possibility of a boy from Turkana trying to get a placement through the request, so that they give that student a position.
Okay, give me your final word in about 15 seconds.
Yes, I think we have a very serious problem. A problem of a selection system where you take 14 officers, lock them up in a place, they dish out this place, this place is available, and then they come out with envelopes and say, we have put this one to that place. This exercise should be open and should be very clear. Why not have merit listed per district? Why not have merit? Since you don't know to combine public and private, why not have merit for public and private, and then go down within that district in such a way that you will not leave anybody who has done well and pick somebody who is down there. Rural district, I saw on their website, not a single child went to Limuru girls who had less than 400 from private schools. There was a child from public schools with 349 from the same rural area. What are you telling those children when they come from the same village?
Yeah, I think it's really sad, because the biggest responsibility given to the ministry is only to manage education, because parents actually pay. They give them the money through taxes and directly through school fees. The only simple task given is to manage education, but this is becoming a big sham. So I think it's just putting the ministry on notice and just telling them that we're just not going to sit back as they mismanage the education sector, surely.
But let's not go through it again.
Yeah.
Because we have destroyed enough children already.
Okay, your final word. Just 15 seconds.
All I'm saying is that selection has been done.
That's what these parents should do now.
Yes, and if there is a reason for any parent who wants to change the school the kid has been admitted to, there are opportunities for them to place requests with the schools that they will have preferred. If there is a possibility, the kids can be placed there.
Okay, we have to wind.
One more point.
We have to wind it up.
One more point. A replacement should be done at the county level, chaired by the director of education for those schools.
Actually, it's true.
So that you see, because the system which has been put in place now is open to abuse and will bring corruption.
Are you willing? Maybe we should put it this way. Are you willing, because you're saying there'll be a replacement? There'll be replacements now. Are you willing to open it up?
Yeah, let me hear.
Because there have been problems with this one that has happened. Are you going to open the next one up?
We really don't have a problem with the placement of children during replacements, because it is done at the county level, supervised by the county director, like Mr. Wanga is saying. It is done at the ministry headquarters.
And not at the school level.
Not at the school level at all.
So it will be transparent. Okay, yes. Thank you very much. Obviously, time does not do justice to this topic. We'll find a way of bringing up this topic and education in general again. But thank you to our guest, Robert Masese, Director of Secondary and Tertiary Education, Ministry of Education. Thank you so much for clarifying issues for us. Ernest Wangai, who's the chair of the Kenya Private Schools Association and National Coordinator Elimio to Coalition Giant Mudhoni. Thank you so much for making time for the big question. We'll be back after this short break.